In a village ruled by the tyrant Cojo, the people live in fear and oppression. Brave Amina, guided by the ancestors' spirits, exposes Cojo's cruelty. In a dramatic confrontation, she transforms him into a lizard, freeing the villagers. Amina becomes their wise queen, leading them to prosperity and justice. United and determined, the villagers vow never to allow tyranny again. Once upon a time, in a lush and vibrant village nestled deep within the African savannah, there lived a king named Kofi. King Kofi was known far and wide for his immense power and his stern rule over the people. His reign was marked by strict laws and harsh punishments for those who dared to defy his authority. The villagers, fearing the wrath of their king, obeyed his every command without question. King Kofi was a man who valued control above all else. He decreed that any transgression against the laws of the land would be met with severe consequences, ensuring that his subjects lived in constant fear of his judgment. To enforce his decrees, he stationed guards throughout the village, making sure that no one could escape his watchful eyes. The village became a place of quiet submission, where the people walked on eggshells, ever wary of provoking their king's ire. One day, a man named Jabari was brought before King Kofi. Jabari had been caught stealing food to feed his hungry children. Despite his pleas for mercy, King Kofi ordered that Jabari be whipped 50 times and banished from the village. This punishment served as a stark reminder to the villagers of the king's unwavering stance on law and order. No one dared to question his authority, and the village remained under his tight grip. Among the villagers was a man named Kwame, who secretly despised the king's tyrannical rule. Kwame had always believed that a leader should govern with wisdom and compassion, not fear and oppression. He began to gather a small group of like-minded individuals, quietly plotting to overthrow the king and bring about a new era of justice and equality. Kwame's plans, however, seemed impossible to realize until one fateful day when he was approached by the king's half-brother, Cojo. Cojo revealed to Kwame a dark secret from the king's past, a transgression so grave that it could lead to his downfall. Many years ago, before he ascended to the throne, King Kofi had committed an act of great shame. He had been caught spying on a young maiden while she bathed in the river. A deed that went against the very laws he now enforced with an iron fist. Cojo, harbouring his own ambitions for the throne, proposed a deal to Kwame and his group. If they promised to support him as the new king, he would reveal this secret to the entire village, ensuring Kofi's banishment. Desperate for change, Kwame and his followers agreed to Kojo's terms, setting their plan into motion. The next day, the villagers were summoned to the central square. Cojo stepped forward, his voice echoing through the crowd as he recounted the king's transgression. Gasps of shock and murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembly. The villagers, who had lived in fear of King Kofi's judgment, now saw him for the hypocrite he was. With no choice but to uphold his own decree, King Kofi bowed his head in resignation and left the village, banishing himself to a life of exile. The villagers rejoiced, believing that their suffering had come to an end. Cojo was crowned as the new king, and the men of the village felt a renewed sense of power and control. But their relief was short-lived, for Cojo proved to be an even more ruthless ruler than his brother. He decreed that all married women in the village would become his wives, asserting his dominance over the people in the most cruel and humiliating way. The villagers soon found themselves in a state of despair, realizing that they had traded one tyrant for another. Cojo's reign was marked by oppression and exploitation. He imposed heavy taxes, took the best of their harvests, and punished any dissent with brutal force. The people lived in constant fear, their hope for a better future crushed under the weight of Cojo's tyranny. In this dark time, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of a woman named Amina. Amina was known throughout the village for her wisdom and bravery. She had always believed in the power of the people to bring about change. Seeing the suffering of her fellow villagers, Amina devised a plan to overthrow the new king. One evening, Amina approached Cojo, using her charm and wit to gain his trust. She whispered to him about a supposed plot against his rule, suggesting that the conspirators were planning to meet by the river that very night. Eager to quash any rebellion, Cojo gathered his most loyal guards and set out to ambush the meeting. As they arrived at the river, they were met not by conspirators, but by the villagers themselves, united and resolute. Realizing too late that he had been deceived, Cojo ordered his guards to attack, but they turned on him instead, binding him tightly. Amina stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. She spoke of the suffering the villagers had endured and invoked the spirits of their ancestors to deliver justice. In a dramatic turn of events, Amina called upon the powers of the ancestors. The sky darkened and a powerful wind swept through the gathering. Cojo screamed in agony as his body began to shrink and transform. Before the eyes of the astonished villagers, Cojo was turned into a tiny lizard, a fitting punishment for his treachery and cruelty. He scurried away into the river, never to be seen again. With Cojo gone, the villagers celebrated their newfound freedom. They turned to Amina, grateful for her courage and leadership, and asked her to be their queen. Amina accepted, vowing to rule with wisdom and compassion. Under her guidance, the village flourished. The harsh taxes were abolished, and the people were free to celebrate their traditions once more. Amina established a council of elders to ensure that no single person could ever wield absolute power again. The village thrived under Queen Amina's reign, and the people learned a valuable lesson. True leadership comes from respect and compassion, not fear and oppression. They vowed to never again allow tyranny to take root in their community, cherishing the freedom and justice that they had fought so hard to attain. And so, the tale of King Kofi, Cojo, and Queen Amina became a legend, a reminder to all that the spirit of the people, when united and just, can overcome even the most formidable of oppressors. Thank you for joining Jom's journey and experiencing the power of acceptance and resilience with us. If you found her story inspiring, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more captivating tales ahead. Until next time, farewell.